Hey guys, Ronnie Calhoun here with Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We have a different sort of interview today, something that I'm really excited about though. Got my friend Stratton Hall, and we're going to talk a little bit today about something that's very important in today's world, something that's very important to me, something we've all been impacted by, and that is alcoholism and addiction.
Absolutely.
And we've talked a lot about this over the past couple of years probably, and you felt sort of pulled to share your story with everybody, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Thank you.
And so you doing all right today?
I'm good. I'm excited about being here.
Good. I'm glad you come in. Check out the studio. And
I know it's really nice in here.
So let's kind of jump in and let's talk about your story and growing up and whatever story,
Sure.
whatever part you want to tell.
You know, I had pretty a picture perfect, bringing up childhood. I was born and raised in Natchez. Actually, the house that I live in today was finished the day that I was born. So, cool. 1971, I'm 50 years old, soon to be 51, and I live in a little compound that's on 7 acres where my great-grandparents lived, then my grandparents, now my mom lives in that house, and I live in the house I grew up in. I've got 2 older sisters and a brother, and I'm the baby. Okay. And so I was the only one that was born and raised here for the whole duration of 51 years. So I not only had a mom and a dad, but I had grandparents right up the hill for me, like in walking distance. My mom's the only child, so I was the baby of the one and only. I got a lot of special attention, as you can imagine. I'm telling you, it's just perfect. We had horses growing up. We had, stables on our property. We had sheep. We had a pig. We had go-karts, mini bikes, anything that you can possibly ask for growing up. My siblings are a good bit older than I am. My oldest sister's 9 years older than me, 7 years, and then 5 years. Okay. So I kind of had everybody to myself for quite a while. My parents divorced when I was fairly young, and I think I was like, it was not normal back then for parents to divorce.
When you say fairly young,
I was like 6.
Okay.
So they separated earlier than that. So they were separated, I think, for like 2 years. And I remember nobody else's parents going through that or living in separate domains. And I remember some of my friends' parents being always very sorry. I'm so sorry for what's going on. And they would pay me special attention, because I think they had empathy for what was going on at home. So that was kind of different, growing up. I can't really pinpoint anything that happened in my life. I, grew up socializing with adults like people still do in Natchez. You'll go to a party and you could have 13-year-olds along with 94-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
I always was around my grandparents a lot, which was fantastic. I was always very comfortable with adults. And I hit teenage years and started drinking a little bit back in the day when there were these little 8-packs, like ponies, I think is what, ponies is what they were called. And
do you remember what age?
I think the first time was probably about 12.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Yeah, about 12.
Okay.
And so we would all get together, went to a fairly small private school here. And it wouldn't be abnormal for seventh graders to hang out with 12th graders.
Okay.
Really small. It was more like a family group. You knew everybody's brothers and sisters and their mom and their dad and who was related to who. And so if you had a group of people from 7th grade or 9th grade or 12th grade, it wasn't odd to see everybody hanging out.
Okay.
I have lifelong friends that I've known since I don't remember how I even met them. But we all grew up and, and you start drinking, trying to fit in, those types of things. And I remember getting intoxicated for the first time and liking the way that it made me feel. I felt more comfortable in my own skin. I felt funnier, smarter.
Yeah.
All those things that, they're great and all, but it's fleeting, right? It goes away, and you wake up. right? Or you pass out or whatever. And so, I stayed drinking on and off. At first, it was just on the weekends. It probably got
just social situations.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and then I got really involved in. I'm an Episcopalian, so I got very involved with the Episcopal Youth Camp, Camp Brighton Green in Canton, Mississippi. And so I would spend my summers generally at camp, either as a camper or as a counselor, and I would try to stay out of Natchez, to be honest with you, all summer long, doing other things. And so when I did that, I didn't drink. I was always very busy, helping other people, to be honest with you. And then at some point, and I think it was like, I want to say 17, 18-ish, my social life started taking over my spiritual life, and I think that I got more self-absorbed, and helping others was not a top priority.
Yeah.
Welcome to your new hospital, Trinity Medical. Located in Faraday, Trinity Medical is the only acute care facility in the Tri-Parish area. Here you will find an active pursuit of holistic health, a strong, honest group of clinicians, and a consciousness of others that transcends the 80,000 square feet committed to you and your loved ones. Trinity Medical. People you know, caring for people you love.
We just wanted to introduce you to our newest partner, Natchez Heating and Cooling. They called us and said, hey guys, we love what you're doing, and we've got to be a part of spreading positivity throughout the Miss Lou. So make sure to tell those guys thank you when you see them, and give them a call for all of your heating and cooling needs.
Come see us for all your handmade and fine jewelry needs here at 415 Main Street in Natchez, Mississippi. You can also find us on the web at riseandshinestudio.com. Always remember to smile big, shine bright, and enjoy the journey.
At that point, I was drinking on the weekends. I remember my first blackouts started happening at an early age, like 16, 17, 18 years old. And then I would stay away from drinking. I'd try to get back involved in camp or, in local EYC.
So when you say stay away, you mean like a few months at a time? Or
Yeah, I would try to, of course, you don't think you are in trouble. You're doing what other people are doing. Yeah. You don't think of. I did have a really close friend whose mother was in recovery, but, I was like, stay away from her. That's no fun.
Yeah.
God, she's weird, or whatever it was. Yeah. But that didn't occur to me. And I did hang out. That people that did things like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wanted to make sure that the people I hung out with kind of acted the same way as I did, right?
Yeah, naturally. That's
security in numbers.
Yeah.
Is that was that you fit in? So graduated from high school, went away to college, and I was drinking pretty heavy at that time. But I never took school very seriously. My social activities were way more important than anything. I actually was horrible at school. I should have never probably gone to a 4-year university. I probably should have gone to a junior college, gotten some footing. And actually, I remember the guidance counselor at the school I went to made that suggestion, and I thought she had lost her mind and that she was insulting me.
Yeah.
Actually, she saw a lot more in me than I saw, because I didn't see myself in all honesty, for the truth of what my life path, what path I was going down. So I went to a 4-year university, didn't stay very long, withdrew, came back to Natchez, started working in bars and restaurants. So that late night work, late night party, sleep all day, I just got into that, and it just became, more and more of a daily routine. Leave work, go to the bar that stayed open, then go to the next bar, and then tried to go back to school a couple of different times. Wasn't my thing. I was going to make it on my own. I didn't need a college degree, although my siblings had all graduated, and were very successful. Then they started having, I think when I hit 21, my oldest niece was born. So I was 21 when she was born, and she turns 30 this year.
Oh, goodness.
So, yeah, and a remarkable young lady she is. But, they were married, and they were working at life and relationships and having a family, and here I was just doing, treading water. I don't even know if that would be a good, because I don't even think I was treading water without floaties.
Yeah.
Because I had people that were still keeping me afloat.
But were you happy at this time?
Of course, I thought I was.
Yeah.
I was doing my own thing.
You enjoyed every day, and you were like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do it.
I'd party all night. I worked with friends. I'd, party all night until the wee hours, sleep all day, do the same thing over and over and over. It's just that vicious cycle over and over and over again. And, then I had friends that actually graduated from college, and then they were getting out and they were having like real jobs, like with benefits and, crazy things like that. And I was like, maybe I should try, that. So, I tried lots of different things. I tried managing bars and restaurants. I worked for a local physician as an assistant, learned some really cool things in healthcare that way. But never thought, it wasn't going back to school. It was like by osmosis. If I'm like around these people, all this knowledge is going to just come into me. Tried advertising and sales. I was pretty successful with those things, but it wasn't like that was filling me up. That was just a job. It really was just kind of a job. And I'd had my health insurance and I had these things, but, my main career was really for the weekend, for vacation, to go party with my people,
Were you still working bars and stuff during this period?
No, I had graduated into 9-to-5 jobs.
Okay.
Let's just say that. Yeah, I was more...
what you thought you were supposed to do.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. It had nothing to do... It was kind of like what everybody else was doing. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And opened up a travel agency right before 9/11, actually in 99. And then 9/11 happened. That kind of quashed that. My grandfather passed away right before that. That was a really monumental event in my life. He was the picture of health. He had not been ill. He passed away, and that totally pulled the rug out from underneath my feet. And then 9/11 happened right after that. He passed away on August 28th, and then September 11th happened. So, it was very emotional.
Did things go downhill from there? Was that sort of a
traumatic?
That was,
it was very traumatic. I left and I got divorced that same year. So there we go.
So you had a very traumatic year.
In 2001.
2001, yeah.
Absolutely.
And the addiction continued, I'm assuming.
It did. Now, of course, I was drinking just like everybody else. I thought I was, just like everybody else that I was surrounded by. I had always kind of taken prescription medications. Like if you have, I don't know if they do it anymore, but you have oral surgery, you have your wisdom teeth taken out or whatever, and they give you Lorcet or Lortab. I wouldn't necessarily use them all. I would keep them, and then I would use those on top of drinking. So, if I wanted to drink longer, I'd take a certain pill to sustain that, Then after 2001, I started having some panic attacks. I think that's probably, September 11th, grandfather, divorce. And so I got prescribed some medication, then started taking that medication and drinking on top of that. And, you know, my life, you know, I had really highs. Like, that's when I was introduced to tourism, was in 2000. And I was in tourism, I guess, in hospitality when I owned the travel agency, but I got hired on with the city of Natchez back then for the Natchez Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Okay.
So that was an awesome job because I could go out and I could talk about Natchez to absolutely everybody, which I love this town, you know, that we are in. And I would travel. I would be around people that drank like me, ate like me, talked about the same things as me.
Hospitality is,
Absolutely. I was really good at it. I was really good at partying with, you know, tour suppliers, with media, with all of that. So it was like, well, I must be doing this right? I'm getting paid for doing this, right? But I would have lots of blackouts. I would feel really bad the next day, you know, and then actually that's when it started, like, because I would have hangovers the next morning, and in order to get over the hangover, I would usually take a pill. So, you know, it was like introducing a whole nother component to where it became a daily thing.
Hey guys, we just wanted to take a minute to recognize our awesome partners who help make this show possible. Trinity Medical Center, Miss Lou Family Dentistry, Natchez Heating and Cooling and Plumbing, Sabrina Dore Agency, Hampton Inn and Suites Natchez, Hicks Chicks, Go Mart and On The Go Deli, Rise and Shine Studio, Rolling in the Dough, Concordia Bank and Trust, member FDIC, Ellard Physical Therapy, and the Brandon Iron Steakhouse. So let these businesses know how much you appreciate them helping us spread positivity throughout the Miss Lou. And remember, tell them Miss Lou Champions sent you.
You know, relationships, personal relationships that I had were failing. But I felt really successful and I felt really useful at my job. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I stayed at that job for, you know, a good 5 years and then jumped onto another job. And, you know, I stayed in hospitality and tourism, marketing, promotion, or sales. And then,
the whole time trying to hold it together and not really look within.
Oh gosh, yes.
What was happening on the inside?
Well, I thought all these other new jobs and opportunities were coming up because how good I was, you know, what I was performing. I was, you know, and I was always very jealous of my brothers and sisters because they were married. They have great relationships. So just, you know, from the outside, it looked like their marriage was, you know, whatever it was. They had beautiful children. Another thing is that I had some female problems. I couldn't have children. This is the woe is me. You know, poor, pitiful Stratton, pour her another drink. You know, that's, and so I didn't realize, well, maybe I'll get to that later. You know, a friendship, a relationship, a brother, sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, those take work, you know. But I was just I was comparing myself to others. Yeah. And at the time, I thought that was normal. I didn't see what I was really doing to myself. So back in probably 2012, 2013, got to the point to where I had lost 2 pretty spectacular jobs back to back. And ended up, of course, it wasn't my fault. And I was unemployable. I took odd jobs here and there. I was barely making ends meet. My siblings had, over the years, my parents, some friends, pointed out things because, you know, they would have 2 drinks, but yet I'd have 2 drinks with them and go home and then have a bottle. You know, they would go home and go to bed and do what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And I'd always, you know, I called it my fishing expeditions the next morning because, number one, I may not know where my car was. I may not remember who brought me home, you know, anything, and I would call and I'd play it off like I would go fishing for information because I couldn't remember what happened.
Yeah.
So less and less people wanted to be around me. I'm extremely close to my brother, and our relationship became very strained. And then all of a sudden, like, people just, like, if I would talk to people, you know, like, they would reach out to me and they would say, you know, basically they would try to help me, and then all of a sudden that stopped. So then it was like I was all by myself.
Yeah, you were becoming pretty isolated without realizing what was going on in your life at the time.
Totally, extremely
You're
isolated.
kind of oblivious, I guess, to
because
the point that you had gotten to.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that I, you know, because I wasn't married, I didn't have children, you know, all these things, I was like, I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
This is all about me. It's really none of your business what I do, right? You know, all those, it's selfish, it's, you know, extremely selfish, but you don't see it when you're active in your addiction and your, you know, I consider alcoholism part of an addiction too, so I may just say addiction, so whatever. I hope you know that I'm meaning alcohol and drugs. So, so it got real quiet, and it was just me. And then I started looking in the mirror. And when I say really looking in the mirror, I really mean looking in the mirror in the aspect of, because I didn't care what I looked like. You know, I was just on to the next party or on to the next whatever. But I also never was honest with myself. And then I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the person I was. I had no morals, I had no values, I had no ethics. Me using and drinking were the most important thing in my life. By far, the most important thing in my life. You know, if I was invited to go just to a play or whatever, I would literally think about how much time that was and it was going to take away from my drinking. You know, 2.5 to 3 hours or whatever it was. Wait a minute, you know, and they're not going to serve alcohol there. What fun is that? I mean, I would literally think about that. I would think about things like if we were invited to go to a party and the party was going to be 5 to 7, I would try to manipulate who was going to come pick me up because I knew I didn't want to drive because I didn't want to get DUI. And when I was looking at that in the mirror at that time frame, you know, when in 2000 and it was early 2015, those are the things I started hearing and feeling because had been totally numb. I was numbing myself is what I was doing. And and I would hear me saying things like that. And I was like, I don't even recognize who this person is.
So this is whenever you started. Was this the first indication to yourself, I've got a problem?
So I'd had an indication that I had a problem several years before that. Twice I'd had epiphanies that I need help. But I wasn't going to end up saying I was never going to drink again in my life seemed like the craziest concept. I was still felt extremely, I guess the word would be, what is the word I'm looking for, Ronnie? I felt entitled. I'm going to start crying. I felt very entitled. I felt, if they can have that, why can't I have that?
Yeah.
I felt, I was mad. Like I was talking about, like poor, pitiful me. Mm-hmm. I was a victim for everything. Everything was everybody else's fault. Nothing was my fault. I was not responsible for my own life. You know, everybody should be jumping through hoops trying to satisfy and fix me. You know, nothing was, you know, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's entitlement. I'm not sure if that's the correct.
I get what you're saying, though. I think that people understand where you're at with that. And so was the 2015-ish, what was rock bottom?
I think when everybody stopped calling me, checking on me, when it was just me and me alone. And I was unemployable, so I didn't have any money. You know, my mother was having to pay my water bill, you know, and my grandparents were like my other parents. I just walked, like I said earlier, I walked up the hill, and, you know, and my grandfather was a big moral compass for me. All he had to do was to look at me and say, I'm disappointed. You know, there was no spanking or anything, no grounding. Mm-hmm. It was just those words. So it was like he kept me in check. And when I looked in the mirror and I didn't see anything that I recognized, any character trait or anything that people would say, you remind me of your grandfather or your grandmother, and I didn't see it in myself, that to me was rock bottom. I mean, oh my gosh.
What was the point whenever you said, when you finally told yourself, maybe you did or didn't say it to somebody else, but what was the point where you told yourself, it's time, I've got to do something? So,
it's not funny. It is funny now, but at the time, I think that I reached out to my physician. I didn't have any health insurance. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. This is what happened. Didn't have any health insurance, and I didn't think it was anybody's responsibility to pay for me to go figure my life out.
Meaning rehab?
Yeah, treatment. Okay. Yeah, treatment or psych ward or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it had to do with, I need to get some heat off of me. Because I can feel it. You know, there was heat, but it wasn't, you know, there was heat, but it wasn't like every day poking and prodding. But I was like, okay, because I was a manipulative person, you know. Okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm doing, you know, all these things. I'm going to do this, do that.
Put on a front, yeah.
Absolutely. So I went to my primary care physician, talked to him a little bit about it, then called a friend who's an insurance person, like, how could I get health insurance? You know, so I started, like, biting away, like, you know, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then things just started kind of falling into place, to be honest with you. I got health insurance. Then, you know, you have a 60 or 90-day waiting period, however it was, whatever. And then, you know, those days were ticking off.
From regular family checkups to sedation dentistry, orthodontics and cosmetic dentistry, experience dental care the way it was meant to be. Right around the corner from a name you can trust, Miss Lou Family Dentistry.
If you like what we're doing here at Miss Lou Champion Spotlight, make sure to like, follow, share on Facebook and Instagram, and visit our website, MissLouChampions.com. It costs you nothing, and it helps us to continue to shine the spotlight on awesome people right here in our community.
Growing up, my parents always encouraged me to do what's right, even if it wasn't easy. I'd always hear my mother's voice say, do the right thing. That stuck with me. Every day, just do the right thing. The rest takes care of itself.
At Shelter Insurance, we believe in doing the right thing for our customers and our communities.
For auto, home, life, or business insurance, see Shelter Agent Sabrina Dore.
My physician, without my primary care physician, he found me a place that would take my insurance.
Are you still using during this period?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just not doing it in front of people. You know, I'm taking my pills, I'm drinking at night, you know, I'm still doing these things, but I write hot checks. I mean, who does that? I would write, you know, a bad check to go buy an 18-pack of beer, you know.
So you've got this goal in mind that you know that you need to go get help, but in the meantime, while you're waiting to get there, you're going to use...
Well, my goal was to get the heat off of me.
Okay.
So I wasn't necessarily 100% accepting that or 100% willing, but I knew that I needed to walk or talk the talk, just not walk the walk.
Yeah, you were still trying to manipulate
absolutely.
the system.
Yes, absolutely. But like I said, things kind of started falling in, like pieces of a puzzle started coming together. I'm not saying that it was happening because of me, because I was not committed to this. But my physician called a facility that would be in his top 3, and it's near here, and asked if they had availability. You know, he did most of the work. Then my insurance agent did a lot of work, and I just had to say what day I would go. So said I'd go on whatever day it was. I think it was a Thursday for some ungodly known reason. What was interesting is I wasn't drinking as much as I was taking my pills at that point. At that point, I couldn't even get drunk fast enough. It took me way too long to get drunk, so I was relying more on pills. Because it would almost be immediate relief. It would numb me a lot faster. I didn't have to go through all the phases of drunk to get to a certain, level of that. And then I also didn't reek of alcohol. So if I took the pills, nobody would know, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
So got in the car. We were, on the way there. I actually popped the last 2 pills in a small town before we got to the treatment facility. I took 2 pills. We got there, and I'm telling you, I'm there. I'm checking in, and I am still not sold. This is definitely, I am not sold on this whole idea. I had been to I had done a lot of self-help reading. I had read books about what's one that's codependency. All these books like self-help, like daily meditations and all this stuff. Never realized that it was a 12-step based books that people were giving me.
Yeah.
So it was like all these, here, try this. Here, you might want to read this. That this and that. So I got there and.
But you weren't ready for those at that time.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, like I would give them away.
Yeah.
I'd see another friend, and I hung out with people that I thought were worse off than I was. And I hung out with those people for a reason, so we could focus on their issues and not mine. I did it intentionally. I hung out with people who drank like me or used like me or whatever it was, so I wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb. I wanted to fit in with a group of people and just be normal for that. Like however many people it was. I just wanted to be average. I wasn't going to go hang out with people that
Makes
go to
sense.
church every Sunday, and
you didn't want to have to answer questions.
Absolutely not.
You didn't want to be in crowds where you had to answer questions constantly.
But then some of my friends that were in that group of my group, were saying to me, I think that you might need to get help. And then I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? And then more isolation, like they're telling me I need to get help. That's crazy. We were born in Natchez. That's what we do. We party. That's what, people come to this town. It's a river town, right?
Yeah. So whenever you got to rehab, what happens at that point?
So I get into treatment and go put my stuff away. And then immediately you have small groups, you have large groups and stuff like that. But I go into treatment and it was a small group. And within that group, it's men and women are in there. And they offer, where I went at the facility, like for a relapse track, like say you had been there for 90 days, and if you go out and you mess up and you can come back in, and it's called a relapse track. And there was a young man, he was reading one of his homework assignments. But this is my first day now. This is the first day. So reading his homework assignment, and he was on relapse track. And he probably was in his, not any older than 25. And he starts reading, and it was all about why he thought he relapsed. And what he shared, he started sharing about, he really started hitting hard, and I didn't think I was affecting anyone else but myself. And he started talking about how his, what his behaviors did to other people, how he, how he did hurt other people because he was only solely thinking of himself. And he was hitting on those things that I had not thought about, and I can't tell you how long. Those things about my parents having dreams and hopes for me, your morals, like, I was dishonest. I was, and then character defects that you have, and it was all this, and it sounded, that could have been me.
Yeah.
And I was looking at him and I started crying, Ronnie, and I had not cried, and I can't tell you how long at that point. I may have cried because, somebody dear to me had passed away, but I didn't feel, does that make any sense? Like truly feel anything, crying. And I started crying that day, and I cried for at least 7 days straight. And it was like all these.
So all of that numbness all of those emotions that you had been numbing for all of that time.
Started.
They all kind of came at once, it sounds like.
It did. I was like, maybe I can do this. But I knew that I had to do the work. Nobody could do it for me.